Welcome to another episode of SportsVibe. I'm your host, Arnav Sarkar, here with episode 96. A few football previews as we make the drive to 100 episodes, sitting right now at the opposite 5 yard line, 95 down. So this is episode 96, which I plan to make the NFC preview episode. 97 will be AFC, 98 will be Big Ten, 99 likely the other college football conferences, the power conferences, and then 100 will be special predictions episode for college football week 1, recap week 0. I also plan to do a recap on college football week 1 and a preview for NFL kickoff. Might bring in a couple of special guests along the way. But I wanted to do a couple solo episodes because a lot of content here. Wanted to blitz through all 32 NFL teams, 16 at a time, to split them up nicely. But first of all, the NFC East, we have 4 different teams that are all going to be somewhat competitive this season. Obviously, one of the toughest divisions. We have the Philadelphia Eagles coming off the Super Bowl, Washington Commanders in the NFC Championship game. The Cowboys are always in the mix, at least, in the Giants. Significant offseason overhaul. So, I mean, they're going to be ready to surprise as well. So I'm starting off with Philadelphia coming off the Super Bowl. They're over and under set for 11.5 wins. They return a lot of their pieces from on the offense, especially skill position. Saquon Barkley is going to be following up his act with after he had a 2,000-yard plus season, nearly set the rushing record. I believe he was just a little bit short. Because he ended up getting the sit in that finale. Luckily for the Giants, they were still able to lose that game. But their offensive pieces intact. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I believe a little bit of a shakeup with the offensive line, but nothing too crazy. Secondary on the defensive side, they lost a lot in terms of their secondary. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay, Avonte Maddox. So they'll be up to the young duo of Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell, who I'm very high on. Both of them did incredible in their first season. So as much as I might not like the Eagles, I think they're going to be a great secondary. The defensive line, the whole defense really lost a lot. They lost Milton Williams, but Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter are going to be expected to step up for Philly. They re-signed Zach Bond, who was a pivotal player on the defense. Nolan Smith as well. A lot of Georgia Bulldogs on that defense. So Philadelphia returning one of the most, if not the most talented roster once again. But I mean, it's always hard to follow up a Super Bowl. So Landon Dickerson actually suffered an injury, but looks like he avoided the worst case scenario. He's undergoing a minor procedure there. So in terms of Philly, it looks like they're still going to be among the top teams in the division and in the country and in the conference. But I mean, the schedule's absolutely brutal for them. They play a first place schedule after winning the Super Bowl. They also have the AFC West and the NFC North as part of the divisional shift, which includes the opener, first of all, against Dallas Cowboys. Second of all, they have the Chiefs, and which would be a really exciting Super Bowl rematch game. #Chiefs Kingdom there. And then they have rematches against the Buccaneers, who they've always kind of had an issue with, the Rams, who nearly unseated them. They play the NFC North, so they have games against the Packers, the Bears, the Lions. I mean, the Vikings, 3 of those are playoff teams last season. AFC West has some feisty teams. They played the Bills in the cross-divisional AFC East, which is always a tough one, and this one's in Buffalo. And then in the division, they've the Commanders twice, the Giants twice, Cowboys twice. So I mean, you'd think some of those teams would be able to potentially steal a game. But I mean, talented roster. We saw what Jalen Hurts could do in the past game. We saw what the defense could do. We saw what happens when Saquon got shut down, and he's not going anywhere. So Eagles are still going to be the cream of the crop, but in the NFC East. But right behind them, the Commanders, over and under of 9.5 wins. How can they follow? How can they follow making the NFC title game? Well, they put a lot around their rookie quarterback, Jane Daniels. They have Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil coming in to bolster that offense. On defense, they have Marshawn Lattimore in the secondary, Brian Robinson in the backfield. Another thing to note about Washington, Terry McLaurin submitted his trade request. So, that's an ongoing situation, whether they're going to pay him. He's been a solid receiver for many years for Washington. I believe Jahan Dotson actually went to the Eagles last season. I almost forgot about that because he didn't really have too much of an impact. But he's another player in Philly, not in Washington. But I mean, in terms of McLaurin, he's always been a very good player. So I mean, yeah, I mean that's pretty much how I see it. On the defensive side, they made some adjustments as well. So they've certainly improved that defense, which contributed to some problems. I mean, 55 points were put on them by Philly, but they were able to expose a faulty defense in Detroit. So, I mean, how can they build on this season? I mean, one thing that happened to them was they fumbled the ball a lot against the Eagles 3 times. I mean, I hope that doesn't happen again for God's sake. But, I mean, other than that, they had a good season. I mean, Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, they were often quiet, but Jane Daniels is great. I mean, on defense, they have guys like Bobby Wagner, Mike Senior still, Jeremy Chin, Jonathan Allen. So a lot of star power, especially in the front of that line. And then Zach Ertz, the tight end, I think former Eagle there too, and Cardinal. I mean, he's been great. So I mean, yeah, can Washington take the next step? I mean, I think they have the pieces. It's going to be hard. I mean, those matchups between them and Philly are very late in the year actually, so those could be for the division. Should be good. And then I guess moving past that, the Commanders do open up against my Giants first game. So, but moving past that, we have the Dallas Cowboys. They didn't really do a lot in the offseason, but their best player, Michael Parsons, submitted a trade request. So we'll see what happens there. Cowboys are expected to pay Parsons the most money for a non-quarterback. I mean, they also added George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb. I mean, Dak Prescott. The running back room kind of weak. They don't really have a true number one. They have Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue, who's the rookie out of Texas, and they have Javonte Williams. But is this going to be a playoff team? I mean, they've been known for making the playoffs and faltering, but last year they didn't really even do that. They're just kind of a very average team. They haven't really been the most successful as of late. They're kind of like in the middle. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, they also, just like the rest of the division, they have a tough schedule once again. But starting in Philadelphia, but it's America's team. So, I mean, they make an extra trip up to MetLife to play the Jets this year. They play the Giants in the last game. They have a couple of road games at the end against DC or against the Commanders and then against New York. But, they also played the Chiefs on Thanksgiving this year. So that should be an interesting one. I believe they also play on Christmas. That's the Commanders game. And then they play Philly in what should be America's Game of the Week. That's always a fun one. They play them twice. So, yeah, a lot to and the other one, of course, being the season opener. So a tough schedule, but we'll see how Dallas does. I mean, Micah Parsons looking for a big contract. I mean, Jerry Jones is just continuing to, just make the most out of the showmanship of this whole situation, which is kind of what the problem is, because it seems to be more of an entertainment business than an actual NFL business in Dallas, and that's contributing to like a lot of the problems there. So we'll see what comes out of that. But even with the quiet off season, there's just a lot of drama and not a lot of football, and it's just tiring. So I mean, in terms of the Giants, obviously, like I know and love them the most. I'm in practice with the Jets. They won their preseason. Jackson Dart looks great. I mean, after the season they had one heck of an offseason. I mean, Russell Wilson at a cheap contract, Jackson Dart in the fold. I mean, a running back duo that includes, Cam Scadaboo, Tyron Tracy. You got Malik Neighbors looking to make the next step there. All of that kind of stuff. So, and in addition to Malik Neighbors, you have Darius Slayton retained. So many other guys. I mean, we have Dante Miller. We saw a lot of preseason standouts with this Giants team. Guys like Lil Jordan Humphrey, Montreal Washington, and the O-line looks better than it has. The D-line, I mean, you have Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, who's just been a beast in practice. You have Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. In the back of that defense, you have guys like Paulson Adebo, Javon Holland. I mean, Deontay Banks has been struggling. We'll see if he ends up getting the corner two job or whether it'll be Cordell Flott. But I mean, a lot of acquisitions on that defense and the offense too. I mean, they've made getting guys like Marcus Bowe in the draft. Cam Scadaboo. I mean, they just had a terrific. Thomas Vidoni. Like they just had a terrific offseason draft. And the guys have been playing well in camp. But I guess the big question is, it's the tough division. Can they really make a run for the playoffs? I mean, how's Russell Wilson going to look? Because I know people have their eyes on Jackson Dart. he might be the real deal at quarterback, but I'm hoping Russell Wilson has some magic in the tank. I think either way, it's going to be a much more fun season for the Giants. A chance to win 6-7 games, compete. That defense is going to be among the top of the league. I mean, especially the D line, the front seven. But I'm excited to see what happens. I mean, they might be the worst team in the division. They might overtake the Cowboys potentially, but I mean, I think they're going to win a few more games and have some fun with Giants football, and I think that's something that the team hasn't seen in a while. So, yeah, I mean, a fun cellar dweller team, maybe a third place team. Who knows what happens? But I think the Giants are going to take the next step forward, while also simultaneously preparing for the future. Abdul Carter, the excellent pick at 3, and then the trade back for Jackson Dart. I mean, like I said, those picks with Mabo, who looks really good at the tackle spot. Andrew Thomas coming in healthy as well, and then some of the receivers, the running backs that they have in Scadaboo, Tracy. The receiving core looks good. I mean, they really addressed a lot of different positions for in the draft and free agency, and I think that's going to show and pay dividends. So I guess that's my NFC East preview. Moving on to the NFC North. The Detroit Lions finished first in the NFC, 15-2, but they blew a playoff game for, I guess, the second year, really. But this one more heartbreaking. I mean, that defense was very faulty, losing to the Commanders 45-31 in the playoffs. So obviously, that's just not the way you want to end the season. Coming, your first game, too. I mean, after a stellar regular season where they went out and beat the 49ers, although they weren't very good. But I mean, they beat the Vikings to win the division, one of the toughest, races with 14-3, Minnesota 15-2 Detroit, but then faltering out like the way they did. I mean, it's all about bouncing back after they started in the Hall of Fame game, but obviously that didn't really matter. There's a bit of an injury scare there. So, moving forward, I mean, the offense has a lot of talented options. I mean, Dan Campbell and the coordinators. I mean, Campbell's a fiery head coach. They have Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, Aiden Hutchinson coming to the defense. So, can Detroit take a step forward? The Packers, we'll probably be right behind them. This year they have over under 9.5 wins. I guess the big question around them is, can Jordan Love take the next step? Who are the receivers going to be? Jaden Reed could be the number one. Some of their other top weapons, Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden, Josh Jacobs at running back, Tucker Kraft at tight end. They lose Jair Alexander to the Ravens in the secondary. How does the defense hold up? Rashawn Gary, Xavier McKinney, Quay Walker are some of the other faces for Green Bay. Bo Melton, they're actually the Rutgers a receiver. They're playing him a corner because they have so many receivers on the team. Also, Jordan Love having a thumb procedure as well. So some news there. But I mean, can Green Bay make that next step? I mean, this NFC North is going to be a competitive division. So last year, all three of them made the playoffs with the Packers as a wild card team. The first team to fall the Eagles in the playoff run. So can they return to that? Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a big question. Another team that's supposed to be improving is the Bears, adding Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, a head coach. They've improved the offensive line, getting guys like Jonah Jackson, Joe Tooney, Drew Dahlman. Can Caleb Williams perform behind that line? I mean, they drafted Luther Burden out of Missouri, DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, some of the weapons. The running back room looks pretty good too. I mean, DeAndre Swift, Kama Nunga is going to be in the mix. The Rutgers running back there. Roshan Johnson also played well for them. So, more questions on that defense for Chicago as well. I mean, they have Colston Loveland at tight end, he was very good at Michigan. So I mean, the question is, can the defense hold up? I mean, not too many big names. I mean, they have Noah Sewell. They have a few different guys. They signed 4 defensive backs, actually. So they're definitely adding some guys in the secondary. With the Pro Bowl cornerback Jalen Johnson on the non-football injury list. So, I mean, it's just it's really about that defense and how well can Chicago do on the offensive side. I mean, obviously it's a brutal division. They're probably going to be looking up at some of these teams, but I mean, they their over/under is 8.5. I mean, I think they could definitely take a step forward and compete with, the Packers, the Lions. I mean, the Vikings are also an 8.5 win team, although they're going to be led by JJ McCarthy. with Sam Darnold going to Seattle. So we'll see him after he got injured. They also put together a better O-line. I mean, they have some of the best playmakers in the NFL. They have Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson at tight end. On the defense, Harrison Smith still in the secondary. They added Jonathan Allen from Washington, I believe. Javon Hargrave, who's been one of the best D tackles in the league. So they have a few stars. Andrew Bynum, I believe, at cornerback. I mean, it's a competitive division. I mean, but they went 14-3 last season. I mean, how well can they do against with JJ McCarthy at the position, leading the way? I mean, Sam Darnold had a great season. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how they do. NFC North has the AFC. The NFC North has the AFC North. They have the NFC East as well. So a lot of familiarity there between the two divisions. And where my favorite teams are, I guess, the AFC North and the NFC East. So those two have a lot of overlap. NFC East, obviously, with the AFC West and the NFC North are going to be playing some pretty tough teams among the schedule this year in the interdivision squads. So, I mean, that's going to be a tough division too. I mean, the NFC East is probably going to be one of the tougher ones, but then the North, all four teams, I think, really have a shot. Multiple teams probably going to make the playoffs out of that. And then some of the other divisions, the NFC West is another one that's very tough too. I mean, the 49ers returning, looking to bounce back from their 6-11 season a year ago, which was the year after a Super Bowl. So, I mean, it was just a little shocking stellar finish. Porous defense, which Robert Saleh now in San Francisco looking to bring the dominance. Healthy Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams is going to make a difference. They have Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle. They also don't have Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk right now with an injury. So Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall expected to contribute at wide receiver. They have the league's easiest schedule, so we're just talking about schedules. It could be a big bounce back year. I mean, the 49ers are always like one of those teams who seem to be able to figure it out, have a good season every couple years. I mean, they've fallen short in the big game a couple of times to the Chiefs. They also lost to the Eagles, but they made deep playoff runs. I mean, they've been, this season not really the best, but I mean, they, last season they were very good. I mean, they, were top of the league. So, I mean, they always seem to kind of figure that out, and they have a talented roster. I mean, Brock Purdy's proven himself as a quarterback. I think McCaffrey, he's going to be pretty good. I think Juwan Jennings has always been a good receiver. They have a lot of offensive firepower on defense as well. I mean, they have different guys, but we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. Brandon Ayuk and expected to return for Week 6. Ricky Pearsall looking to be one of the breakout candidates. So we'll see how that defense looks. I mean, they obviously they have one of the Bosa brothers, I believe. So at least they did. They had they have Michael Williams. They have some young talent, Fred Warner on that side of the ball. Jordan James is another one of their running backs that they have. So yeah, I mean, I think the Niners are going to try to find a way to bounce back in the standings. The rest of this division, though, absolutely competitive. I mean, we have the Rams, who nearly were the closest team to knocking out Philadelphia. Unfortunately, that didn't happen in the playoffs, but I mean, they bring back Matt Stafford. Of course, he had a great season. Puka Nacua, they signed Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams in the run game. The run defense wasn't very great. They finished 26th and allowed 200 yards to Saquon Barkley twice. So they signed Nils Teko Puna Ford, a big man in there. Jordan Whittington looking to be the receiver 3. So, I mean, this could be a really sneaky team that ends up overachieving past their expectations. I mean, I kind of hope they do. I mean, I think they put something together where they can, they can make a run in the playoffs. They're very close a season ago, and I think this season they might be better. Same thing with the Seattle Seahawks too. Although I don't think they made the playoffs last season, but Sam Darnold coming into Seattle. The question is their offensive line going to be able to protect them? On defense, they have one of the top defenses. I mean, there's stars all over the league, all over the 3 position groups. I mean, you have Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, Byron Murphy, Julian Love, a couple former Giants in there, Devin Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen in the secondary. I mean, they're trying to recreate their magic of the 20 times defense. So the run game has Kenneth Walker as well. And then Sam Darnold is going to be the quarterback. They had, obviously, Cooper Kupp is a huge playmaker. coming back to his home state. Jackson Smith-Njigba, we saw what he could do at Ohio State. I mean, both the Seahawks and the Rams are going to be like sneaky teams this year. Either one of them, I think, can make a run. But how well can that pass game do for Seattle? Because it seems like they have just about everything else kind of figured out this season. So I'm interested to see how that one goes. But yeah, I mean, it should be a good one. I think both of those teams could be pretty sneaky, and then the Cardinals, who are finished last in that division, they've improved their defense quite a bit. I mean, they drafted Walter Nolan, Will Johnson, some of the top defensive prospects in the draft. They added Dalvin Tomlinson and Calais Campbell, some of the best D tackles. Edge Josh Sweat coming in from Philly, and then Max Melton, another Rutgers player at starting corner. They have Marvin Harrison at receiver. Kyler Murray is expected to be able to run the ball more, have a better season. Always liked him as a quarterback. And Marvin Harrison didn't have really the best year, although he still, I think, had around 800 yards, not a 1,000-yard season. We saw what he could do with the Buckeyes, so like I think he's going to be able to, have a big year for Arizona. I think that's another team that could be sneaky too. I mean, so we have three teams. I don't know. I still think they might be like a year away, but I think there's a lot of talent here. I expect them to win maybe 7-8 games. But I mean, these other teams, the Seahawks, the Rams, the Niners. I mean, this is yet another competitive division, but might be a little bit more under the radar than some of the other two. What we might see one or two playoff teams in this division, 2 from the North, 2 from the East. The South is probably just going to end up having 1, but yeah, I mean, the Buccaneers expected to be the favorites. They've made a couple playoff runs. They've kind of fallen short against elite competition like the Lions, the Commanders, but I mean, they've been the best team in what's been a subpar division. They had Hassan Reddick. They should have an improved secondary. They have Antoine Winfield and Benjamin Morrison, a deep receiving room for Tampa Bay. Mike Evans, who's going for his 12th consecutive 1,000-yard season. Chris Godwin is in there, who's been there for a little while. Jalen McMillan out of Washington, and Emeka Egbuka, who's been, a really solid number 2 wide receiver for Ohio State, like an NFL route runner. Like we know he's going to be like a solid contributor. May not be the biggest star, but he's definitely very, very solid. And on a lot of other teams, he'd probably be the receiver 1 in college too. So Baker Mayfield, he's really found his moxie. I mean, he kind of flamed out in Cleveland. He's come back. I mean, they've been a team that's upset some pretty good teams over the years. I mean, they beat the Lions, Eagles, and Commanders last year. Weren't able to beat the Commanders in the postseason. But I mean, Tampa Bay's they've been in the mix 2 seasons now in a row. So I mean, if they end up winning the division again, which they're going to be the favorites. I mean, can they make a run in the playoffs? I mean, there's a lot of other tough teams, but I think they potentially could. They could win a game. I mean, the Falcons, I think, are going to be in the mix in that division. They drafted a couple of pass rushers, Jalen Walker and James Pierce. They signed edge rusher Leonard Floyd, the number 9 pick in 2016. They have Jesse Bates, DeMarco Hellams, Xavier Watts from Notre Dame in the secondary. On offense, Michael Penix expected to step in for Kirk Cousins. We saw him. They have a top 10 offensive line. Weapons galore. They have Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts at tight end, Drake London, Darnell Mooney. I think they're going to be one of the top teams. They could compete with the Bucs for that division. Carolina Panthers, I had Anish Shroff to talk about the Panthers as well as his play-by-play journey. He kind of spotlighted them a little bit on this episode on the Just Vibing pod, but in terms of the research I did, Carolina just didn't really have a good season, but still better than the one they had 2 years ago. I mean, they even then they allowed over 30 points per game, which is the 3rd most in the past 20 years. So they improved their defense by signing or bringing back. They're going to bring back Derek Brown, who missed most of last year, and then they also they signed defensive tackle Tershawn Wharton, as well as safety Trayvon Morrig, multiple new edge rushers in Carolina as well. So and then on offense, I mean, they have Adam Thielen, who's been very dependable. They drafted Tyrell McMillan out of Arizona, a big play receiver. They have Xavier Legette, Jatavian Sanders. So they have a few different weapons for Bryce Young to work with. It's really up to him how he obviously got benched, and then he turned things around in his second season. had a good production. They almost beat Philly, or at least were close. They almost beat the Chiefs. So they had a couple moments last year where things looked like they were kind of coming together. I mean, the Falcons also beat the Eagles too, and that was an exciting one. But I mean, Carolina, they played really well in some of these games. I mean, they lost by 6 to Philadelphia, 3 to the Panthers. They put together a couple wins against the Saints, the Giants. So it didn't really come together. But I mean, the NFC South is so weak where any of these teams can really compete. I mean, I think the exception to that is the New Orleans Saints. They don't. The Saints also over and under 6.5 wins, but they're expected to be one of the league's worst teams, if not the worst. I mean, their quarterback situation looks horrific. They have Tyler Shook, who just does not look ready. He's throwing interceptions, stuff like that. Although he did I guess he did pretty decent, but I mean he didn't really look too great. Actually, Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler was the guy who didn't really get going. He ended up just going 7 for 11 against the second team defense, 53 yards. Tyler Shook threw an interception against the Rutgers cornerback Eric Rogers, now in LA, and then he actually ended up getting a second one. But it just does. I don't know. I'm not. Neither of these guys look too promising at quarterback. I mean, so it's just a really rough situation. Very undecided job there. But I mean, we'll see if Tyler Shook ends up winning that one. Spencer Rattler, he went 0 for 6 in his starts last season, which was just not great. I mean, he really didn't look ready. He didn't really look good, to be honest with you. So I mean, he might lose the job. Other than that, there's just not a lot of talent on this roster. They lost their top 2 corners in Paulson Adebo and Marshawn Lattimore going to the Giants, and the Ravens, I believe, or the Commanders actually, is picking up Lattimore. So both NFC East teams. So they're, as it is, they weren't the most talented. They struggled in a very weak NFC South last year. Weren't really contenders. Then they lost. Their quarterback situation is very uncertain. Probably the worst in the NFL. I mean, one of the worst in the NFL. I mean, they lost their top 2 corners. They have Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama stepping up. Some other young, inexperienced players, skill positions. They have a really good O-line led by one of the top centers, Eric McCoy, Alvin Kamara, who's been a fantasy, has been very strong in fantasy coming in there. They also have guys like Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Cooks at playmaker. So they have at wide receiver. So they have a few different guys who can make plays, but it does not look exactly promising. And then Will Clapp, one of their offensive linemen, suffered a foot injury. So I mean, they're just not. That might be the one team where there's just not a lot of upside at all. I mean, I think that division is going to come down to the Panthers and the Buccaneers. Probably going to be Tampa. But yeah, I mean, in terms of predictions, the East, I would think the Eagles find a way to win it again, followed by the Commanders as a wild card. But then we'll see what happens. I mean, it could go the opposite way, but I'm not entirely sure if Philly's going to lose grasp on that division. Stay tuned for that. My playoff prediction is going to predict something else, though. In the NFC North, it could be anyone's division, really. I mean, I think the Lions, they have a lot on offense, bringing some on defense. I think, addressing that, I think is going to help them stay at the top. I'm not really too faithful on the Vikings, the Packers, or the Bears just at this time. I think the Lions are going to be able to, pull that division out. Maybe not 15-2, but I think they should be good enough this year. I mean, I think they've improved the defense, which was a little bit faulty, but I mean, I think they'll be all right. So and then I guess that brings us over to the NFC West, where that's a really tough division. I have no idea who's going to end up winning that. It could be the Niners. I would put the Rams in front. I'm really high on what I saw out of them last season, and they only added so much more talent and on the run defense. They added a couple good receivers now. They have a good running back. I think they're going to be able to put something together, and I hope they do. And then NFC South, I think Tampa Bay is going to win that division. I don't see anyone really getting in their way. I mean, they have by far the best, receiving room. I mean, on defense, they have solid players. They just have something going for them, and the division just seems very lost and confused. They don't know what's going on. But Tampa Bay kind of kind of does. So like I would give them the advantage there. But yeah. In terms of playoff contenders in the conference, the Eagles, Washington. I think the Lions are going to be in the mix. The Rams and the Seahawks, I think, are both going to be in the mix this year. I think the Buccaneers will probably claim the NFC South spot in the 4. And yeah, I mean I think that pretty much. And then in the NFC North, I think the Packers are a potential team to grab that second that other wild card spot as they have in the last few years. I think the Bears might need one more year to gel. And then making their way out of the NFC. I mean, I wanted to do something different for my NFC Championship prediction. Um, I mean, I think the Eagles are going to be around, but a lot of people see them taking a step back after winning the Super Bowl. There's always a lot of that. They lost quite a bit on defense. I think they're going to slip up somewhere that people don't expect them to, or at least I hope I do. I mean, there's some bias in here, but I'm going to go with two of the sneaky high upside teams that I think I want to take the next step, and I think will. I'm going to go with the LA Rams hosting Washington Commanders in the NFC Championship. I think both of those two teams are significantly improved, and they probably have what it takes to beat the Eagles in a high showdown game. But who knows for sure, like what that defense is exactly going to look like. So I mean, I would go with one of the two. I mean, Philly could find their way back into that, but I'm going to go with the Rams versus Commanders. We could see either one of those in the Super Bowl. I think I'm really high on the LA Rams. I trust them for some reason. So I think I'm gonna go with the Rams over the Commanders. I could see that either way. If Washington's tighten up their defense, I could see that. I mean, I think Philadelphia is probably gonna be in the mix. Detroit, I think, is a team that can take a step forward, but it's a little hard to trust because they haven't done it a couple times now, and so my pick's going to be Rams versus Commanders. I see Philly and Detroit definitely in the mix. And then the Packers, Seattle, I think, are going to be in the playoff picture. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I got. I mean, so I'm trying to go a little bit unorthodox here, but at the same time, I mean, yeah, that's what I think. So we'll see what exactly happens. But yeah, I guess with that being said, that's going to pretty much do it for this episode of SportsVibe, episode 96. On the next episode, I'll be doing the AFC. Same thing as this, all 16 teams in a relatively quick format. I mean, this has only been about 30 minutes, which is a bit shorter than usual, but want to give an overview of that. And then, of course, the college football preview is coming up after that. So with that being said, this has been another episode of Sports Vibe. I will see you next time. And as always, the vibes are always high on Sports Vibe. See you next time.